accuse the defendant of one or more misdemeanor offenses. Hence, this would be the defendant's initial appearance before a judicial officer. If you are charged with one or more misdemeanor charges, please make sure that you remember your rights, specifically the right to remain silent. Anything you choose to say during the course of this open virtual proceeding, your statements can and will be used against you. Please keep in mind that this proceeding is not only being recorded, but live streamed as well. You have a right to an attorney. If you cannot afford one, one will be appointed to represent you. And let me see, I have Mr. Howard as our pretrial officer, and who do I have as my litigation manager?
Ms. Strong.
Ms. Strong, okay, good afternoon. Okay, Ms. Strong, what's our reset date, please?
December the 7th.
Okay. Is that a Thursday?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, perfect. Thank you. And I see that we may have a Spanish interpreter case. Ms. Kim, is that your client's case?
Yes, Your Honor.
And have you had a chance to speak to your client?
Not yet, Your Honor.
All right. I understand he's in courtroom 3.
Yes.
With Mr. Jordan, good afternoon. Could you please set up a breakout room for Ms. Tolles? Ms. Tolles, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
All right. And Ms. J. Kim and courtroom 3, please, so they may confer.
Thanks, Your Honor.
All right. Okay. Ms. Wills, and who else is representing the public defender's office other than
It's
Ms.
just Ms. Kim.
All right. So courtroom 2 and ACDC, we're going to address Ms. Wills' cases first. Who do we have in courtroom 2?
You can start with ACDC.
All right, thank you. ACDC, is it Deputy Milton there?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
If we can unmute ACDC, we can take up our first case who is represented by either Ms. McLeod or Ms. Wills.
Ms. Wills, client, position 1, Diallo. And I will go unmute. Hold on, please.
Thank you. All right, we have Mariama Diallo, position number 1, case number 23 CR 7318G. Ms. Diallo was charged with driving under the influence of alcohol and failure to obey traffic signs or control devices from a November 24th, 2023 incident. Ms. Diallo, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is going to be Ms. Wills.
First arrest level 1.
All right, thank you. Ms. Kasidakis, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Judge.
And what's the state's recommendation for Ms. Diallo?
Yes, Your Honor. The defendant ran a red light, as you have already, I know you have the warrants, ran a red light, and that's when the officer initiated the stop, made contact with the driver, and that's where we smelled alcohol in her breath, and her speech was slurred and incoherent, and she was unaware of the severe damage in the front passenger side of the vehicle, and she made several verbal threats to assault the officer. The defendant was operating a moving vehicle while under the influence of alcohol to a degree which rendered her less safe to drive. The state's recommendation, Your Honor, is a signature bond through pretrial services, a drug and alcohol evaluation, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond, Your Honor.
All right. Ms. Wills?
Thank you, Judge. I would just like to state for the record that my client does deny the allegations. However, we are in agreement with the signature bond, if Your Honor is so inclined.
On the DUI, it's going to be $1,000 surety bond. On the failure to obey traffic control devices, that's going to be a $1,500 signature bond through pretrial. Total bond is $2,500. It's a split bond. No alcohol, no illegal drugs, and no weapons and no firearms. No driving unless she's got a valid permit, adequate insurance, and proper registration for the vehicle she operates. Her next court date is going to be December 7th at 9 a.m. unless she makes bond. At all times, she needs to make sure that she maintains a good address with the courts. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Next case, ACDC.
Position 2,
Uh-huh.
Ms. Donaldson.
All right. And I have a co-defendant, 732 OC. Is that a male?
Yes.
And is he represented by Miss McLeod?
No, the cross defendant is represented by myself, Mr. Howell. That's my client.
And I represent Ms. Donaldson, Your Honor. Good
All
afternoon.
right, good afternoon. Courtroom 2, is Mr. Howell available?
Yes.
All right, could we switch him out with the gentleman in the seat? All right, we have position number 5, Maurice James Howell, charged with simple battery domestic violence from November 24, 2023. And Mr. Howell, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is going to be Miss Miss Willis. And then with regards to the cross defendant, we have Rashonda Donaldson, 23 CR 7319C. And she's also charged with simple battery family violence from the same date. And she's represented by a conflict attorney, Miss Maureen McLeod. And Miss Howard, do we have any priors on Miss Donaldson?
She got 5 total. She don't have any violence in her history.
All right,
Last arrest was in May for a suspended license.
thank you. And what about Mr. Howell?
He was arrested in September for robbery. That's open. It's 23 CP 221497.
497. Okay.
Yeah, he got a 2019 simple battery DV, trespass DV that was dismissed. This was level 3.
All right. Thank you. Miss Kasdakis, yes. Recommendation for both cases.
Okay, yes, Your Honor. For Donaldson, law enforcement responded to Windsor Street. They spoke with a defendant and she stated that her live-in boyfriend, Maurice Howell, who they also share a child together, was physical. They had gotten a physical altercation. The defendant caused physical harm to the victim by scratching him in the face several times with her fingernails. The defendant stated that the victim placed his hands around her neck and she was defending herself. The defendant and the victim are co-defendants. They each say the other started. The state's recommendation is a signature bond through pretrial services. No further contact with Maurice Howell. Stay away from 560 Windsor, WINDSOR Street, Southwest Atlanta, Georgia. FVIP, no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while on bond. And whenever it's appropriate, Your Honor, I would like to sound for Maurice Howell.
Well, Mr. Maurice Howell is also cross-defendant, so I'm not inclined to hear from either side. Ms. Kasdakis, do you have a recommendation for Mr. Howell?
Yes, Your Honor. One moment. Position number 5, Mr. Howell. Okay, the recommendation for Mr. Howell is he placed his hands around Miss Donald's neck and applied pressure. The state's recommendation is $1,000 surety. FVIP, theft course, no further contact with Rashonda Donaldson. And Your Honor, I'm not sure whose house this is, but I also recommend, the state also recommends they stay away from that address. Again, I don't know whose house it is, so I'll leave it up to you. No drugs, alcohol, or weapon while on bond. And if we can sound for Miss Donaldson.
All right, she's also a defendant, so I'm not inclined to hear because of her right to remain silent. Miss Wills, it appears that they're recommending a surety bond for your client. Any comment?
Well, Your Honor, I would like to state for the record that my client is an Atlanta native. He's currently employed by Grady Healthcare as a carrier. He's been there for the past 2.5 years. He will not qualify for our services due to his employment. He does have a high school diploma as well as some college education. He has one child that he shares with Miss Donaldson. In speaking with my client and also in reading the warrant, it seems that Miss Donaldson initiated this incident. My client did defend himself my client acted in self-defense. He did have severe marks, scratches, bleeding as a result of the incident. They do share a home together. They're currently engaged. He states that, I'm sorry, my client has told me that both of them have other residents where they could go, where each could go. So obviously, I did advise my client that it would be likely that he would not be able to have contact or maintain contact with Ms. Donaldson as a result of this incident. I would request a signature bond. I understand my client does have an open case currently. However, he has very limited criminal history. And again, he did act out of self-defense.
And who do you know if your client holds the lease on the Windsor Place location? Because that's the only person with the Windsor address. Miss Donaldson has a Anika Street address. Miss McLeod, can you enlighten us on that?
Yes, Your Honor, this is my client's place, and she is the only person on the lease.
She's the only
Windsor
person on the
Avenue
lease?
address.
Okay.
That is correct, Your Honor. That's what she tells me, that she's the only name on the 560 Windsor Street, and that is her home. She also has 3 minor children, an 11-year-old, an 8-year-old, and 2-month-old that live at this address with her.
I see. And Miss Wills, do you concur with that your client doesn't have any ties to the lease?
He was indicating that he does not, and he does have somewhere else where he can go. And yes, they do just share the one child, and she has the remainder of the children. I did have one question.
Yes.
As far as the recommendation, was a theft course recommended for my client?
No, it was a FBIP.
No, I heard FVIB, no further contact, and then there was something else that was stated.
A theft course was stated as well. I wondered about that myself.
Oh, I'm sorry, Your Honor. The only reason I put it is because I saw a lot of burglaries, but I know it doesn't have anything to do with this case, so we can.
If I heard it, I actually disregarded it because it wasn't
Okay.
part of the charges. So
Okay.
no, that would have
Thank
been.
you, Your Honor.
With regards to Rashonda Donaldson, the bond is going to be set at $2,500. It's a signature bond through pretrial services, level 1. She will report to pretrial once a month. She cannot afford to get arrested again, and she must comply with the conditions of a bond in order to maintain it in signature status. Otherwise, if she violates the terms of the bond, her bond will be revoked and converted to a surety or cash bond. She needs to maintain her current address at 560 Windsor Street. If she changes her address, she'll need to let the court know. She must report to pretrial, report to court when summoned. She's to have no contact with Mr. Maurice Howell, to stay 200 yards away from him and not communicate with him in any way, form, or manner until this case is resolved. She's not to consume any illegal drugs, no alcohol, and not possess any weapons or firearms. With regards to, she's to attend the one-day anger awareness program that's administered by pretrial services. And that concludes the bond conditions for Ms. Donaldson. With regards to Mr. Howell, the bond is going to be set at $5,000. That's going to be a signature bond through pretrial services per judge. He is not to have any contact with Ms. Rashonda Donaldson, and he's not to have any contact with the minor children in her care. If he wants to have visitation or custody with regards to the child that he shares with Ms. Donaldson, he must go to a superior court and file the appropriate legitimation action and get a court order for visitation or custody. As I said, at the present time, no contact with Ms. Donaldson and the minor children, no alcohol, no drugs, no weapons. And after within 30 days of being released from the jail, he must update the court with his new mailing address so we can send him his new court summons. He is not to return to 560 Windsor Street in Atlanta, Georgia. He may return one time only with a police officer. That visit cannot exceed 1 hour, and he is to retrieve his personal belongings. Mr. Howell, considering that you have an open felony case, I'm going to require you to attend a domestic violence intervention program while you are out on a pretrial bond. You must enroll in such classes within 60 days of being released, and you must show your pretrial officer that you have begun those classes. It's a 24-week program, and you must show proof that you are attending those classes. Those classes have nothing to do with guilt or innocence. It is just a condition to your bond. Yes, Mr. Howell, if courtroom 2 could please unmute.
Well, prior to my
Go ahead,
client
Ms. Willis.
speaking,
Go ahead, Ms. Willis.
I would like to advise my client, please, Mr. Howell, anything you say can and will be used against you. I am your attorney and can't speak on your behalf. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them off the record. I would ask, Your Honor, that this court take in consideration the child that my client shares with Ms. Donaldson is only 2 months old. Would the court be likely to reconsider, or would you reconsider third-party visitation?
No, I think considering the age of the child, it is the greatest benefit to the child if he legitimates the child and establishes all his obligations as the father. Thank you.
Judge, what level?
I'm sorry, Mr. Howard?
Level.
Oh, for Mr. Howell, it's also level 1,
Okay.
but the FWIP requirement's there. Mr. Howell, your attorney has advised you of your right to remain silent. Would you like to exercise your right to remain silent, or did you still have a question?
Yes, I want to ask a question.
Yes.
I just want to ask a question about my job. How can I attend classes if I have a job? I can't.
Your classes are once a week. You just have to make time in your life.
Okay.
Thank you. All right, thank you. That concludes the 2 cases.
Thank you.
Miss Kim, is she back from her breakout?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, we'll go to courtroom 3. And what position number was your case, Miss Kim? Was it?
It was, yes, Your Honor.
Okay.
9 and 10.
9 and 10. All right. As soon as courtroom 3 comes back out of the breakout, Ms. Tolles, while we're waiting, may I place you on the oath, please?
Yes,
Do you
Your Honor.
solemnly swear and affirm that the information and testimony you translate will be a true and accurate translation with no changes or embellishments?
I do, Your Honor.
Thank you. Mr. Jordan, we may have to remove courtroom 3 from the breakout. Close out the room.
I think they walking them back to courtroom 2, Judge.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Your
And-
Honor, while we're waiting, is it possible we can do Attorney McLeod, last client, who is over here at ACDC, position 8?
All right, let's
Ms.
go ahead.
Malcolm?
Okay, I was just about to ask whether I was going to do another case while waiting.
Ms.
All right.
Malcolm, come forward.
Dexterny Aaliyah Malcolm. All right. Her case is 23 CR 73208, position number 8 on our calendar, charged with simple battery from November 24th, 2023. Ms. Malcolm, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is Ms. McLeod.
And
And
Judge, I do
yes.
believe there might be this might be a co-defendant.
Oh, yes, you're absolutely right. It's 23 CR 7326H. And that was, I honestly don't remember the position numbers, if somebody could. Was it position? No, it wasn't. I'm so sorry. You have to tell me what position number it is. Was it
7 and 8.
14? Oh,
Position 7 and 8.
7 and 8. Okay.
Lewis and Malcolm. Yes, Judge.
Okay. Oh, right above. Okay, sorry. We have quite a few companion cases. So is Jade Lewis present? Is that another female?
Yes, Your Honor, she's here at ACDC.
Okay, she can remain standing behind Miss Malcolm.
And I am representing her, Your Honor.
All right, Ms. Wills, thank you. All right, Jade Mariah Lewis, and you are charged with simple battery, and your case number is 23 CR 7326H. Can you hear me all right from where you are positioned? You just have to say yes or no. Can you hear me all right from where you're standing? Speak louder. Okay. All right. Ms. Lewis and Ms. Malcolm are cross defendants with respect, and both are charged with simple battery from November 24th of this year. Ms. Lewis is represented by Ms. Wills of the Public Defender's Office, and Ms. McLeod represents Ms. Malcolm. Mr. Howard, any priors on position 7 and 8?
No, but Lewis is 18, so they asked for a cosigner.
Okay. Ms. Ekpo, do you have both cases?
I do, Judge.
All right, you can start with either one.
Thank you. It's a little complicated, so I'm going to try and make it the least complicated. We have two victims in this case, and Aranique Ellison and Candace Morris, who I do believe are on Zoom. I believe Miss Morris is wearing the sunglasses. This incident occurred on November 24th of 2023. This was an incident where many of the women know each other and they were all in individual cars. My understanding is that there was some type of car accident where the victims were in separate cars. There was a dispute as to the defendants believing that the victims had hit their car and they had continued on. When the victims got out of their car to kind of say, hey, you hit our car, what's going on? The defendants in this case, one of the defendants in this case, Miss Lewis and Miss Malcolm, got out. They believed that the victims in this case were going to do something to their friend, and they began to pepper spray our victims in this case, Miss Ellison and Miss Morris, causing injuries to their eyes. There were several bystanders in this case, Miss Marquisia Atwater, who told the police officers that she did witness this entire scene. She said that there was an accident, a car accident. She then stopped her vehicle. She got outside to attend to the victims in this case to kind of figure out what was going on. She said that the ladies were, the scene started to escalate, and at some point, pepper spray, the two defendants pulled out pepper spray and they began to pepper spray the victims in this case. We would be asking for a $2,000 surety bond, an SOR, SOR on both Miss Ellison, I apologize, Miss Lewis and Miss Malcolm. We would be asking for an 8-week anger management, no alcohol, drugs, or weapons while on bond, and to stay away from Aranique and Candace Morris.
Aranique. Okay, just want to make sure I got that name right. Okay. All right, Miss Ellis and Aranique Ellis and Candace Morris, if you are present on Zoom and you want to address the court, you need to unmute and start your video. So Miss Candace Morris, you need to remove your sunglasses.
Oh.
She still has some sensitivity to the light, Judge, because she was.
That's fine. She can be in muted light. I'm so sorry. Or you can keep your eyes shut.
Okay, that's fine.
Raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
I do.
All right. Other than what Ms. Ekpo has described from the allegations, is there anything else you'd like to add?
Yes, we don't know the young ladies at all. The only person I knew was Aranique, and she called me on my way home to tell me that she was in an accident, that somebody just hit her.
Okay.
So I came back to see if she was okay, if she needed a ride or anything like that. And unfortunately, the young ladies were in the process of trying to attack us, and I was trying to de-escalate the situation, and they sprayed me.
Okay. Thank you.
And then they proceeded to jump her.
Okay, you can put your glasses back on. Thank you very much. Okay. And then that was Miss Morris. Is Miss Ellis on this?
Miss Ellison. Is Miss Ellison on?
I'm not sure.
Ellison, excuse me. Okay. Moving on then, Ms. Wills, do you have any comment about Ms. Jade Lewis?
Yes, Your Honor. My client is just 18 years old. She lives at home with her mother. She is currently employed at the airport. She does cleaning there. She will qualify to be represented by the Public Defender's Office. She does have a high school diploma and is currently enrolled to begin schooling at Georgia State University for their spring semester, and intends to major in dentistry. My client was shot, unfortunately, last November. No one that's indicated.
Totally unrelated?
Yes, totally unrelated.
Okay.
However, she states that she does not know any of the people involved other than her one friend. She stated that when the situation escalated, one of the alleged victims in this case started banging on her windshield, and started swinging on her, and she did react out of self-defense. And of course, she's at a heightened sense due to the incident that she endured last year, and she's still recovering from that and is anticipating further surgery for that.
Pretrial has recommended a co-signer. Do you have a person in mind?
She has her mother. I do not have her mother's contact information. If Your Honor would require that, I would ask to have the opportunity to at least call her mom to ensure that she's able to get down to the court and co-sign.
Okay. And the client who's seated, that's Miss Malcolm. Miss McLeod, do you have any other comments? They're both getting signature bonds. Do you have anything else to add?
No other comments, Your Honor, other than to say that my client tells me that she was a passenger in the car and that the alleged victim came knocking on the car window, that they were the ones who started this. Nothing further.
Okay. With regards to Miss Malcolm, it's a $2,500 signature bond through pretrial services. No further contact with Erinique Ellison and Candace Morris to not consume any illegal drugs, no alcohol, no weapons, and no firearms. No contact with Miss Ellison and Miss Morris means staying 200 yards away from them and not communicate with them in any way, form, or manner, including in person, through a third party, through a phone, a computer, or even on social media. If there's any comments on social media with regards to the two victims, all they have to do is contact the authorities and have the defendant arrested again for violating the bond condition. With regards to Miss Jade Lewis, same conditions, $2,500 signature bond through pretrial, with the exception that Miss Lewis will need her mother to come down and co-sign the bond. Ms. Lewis, it would be very beneficial if you give us your mother's full name and her address, and she will need to come down and co-sign your bond. Again, same conditions, no contact with Erinica Ellison and no contact with Candace Morris, and to not consume any illegal drugs, alcohol, or possess any weapons or firearms. Both of you, please keep in mind also that you're not allowed to drive a car unless you have a valid driver's license, proper insurance, and proper registration. All right. Ms. Lewis, did you have a question about the co-signer?
Well, I did, Your Honor. If I could have the opportunity, if she can be heard,
Yeah.
just so I could take her number, her mother's number down to contact her mom.
All right. Ms. Malcolm, you may go back and be seated in the seat behind you. All right. Deputy Milton, okay, go ahead. Ms. Lewis, what's your mother's full name?
Chantel Wright.
Speak up and speak loudly.
Chantel Wright, SHAWNTEAL WRIGHT.
Chantel Wright. Okay. And so you'll need to give your attorney, Ms. Wills, your mother's correct spelling and her phone number so that she may contact your mom to tell her to come down to the jail and co-sign your bond. Yes.
I think my dad in here, he can't talk.
You have a signature bond.
Oh, okay.
You don't have to pay to be released. If your dad is here, then he already knows that you have a signature bond. He just needs to go down to the court to the jail and pick you up then. Or I'm sorry, he's gonna have to let your mom know. Or if Your Honor would allow her father to be the co-signer if he's present.
With whom do you live, Ms. Lewis?
Okay, so whoever come get me can sign.
No.
So just one second. Ms. Lewis, with whom do you live?
With my mom.
Mother has to co-sign. All right, thank you.
Your Honor, that concludes my business before the court today. May I be excused?
Yes, Ms. McLeod, you enjoy your holiday weekend. Yeah.
Thank you, Your Honor. Same to you.
Mhm. Courtroom 2, do we have Mr. Nunes Ortiz ready?
Yes, he's ready.
I think we've concluded with ACDC. Deputy Milton, did you have any other cases?
No, Your Honor, that's it, I believe. Thank
All
you
right.
for everything.
Thank you. Thank you. Enjoy yourself. Take care. All right. Ms. Tolles, you've already been sworn. We are addressing the case positions 9 and 10, State versus Jose Nunes Ortiz.
Estamos hablando de las posiciones en la lista de causas de hoy 9 y 10, el Estado contra José Núñez Ortiz.
Mr. Nunes Ortiz is you have a right to remain silent. Anything you say about the facts of your both cases, your statements can and will be used against you.
Señor Ortiz, usted tiene derecho a permanecer callado. Cualquier cosa que diga con respecto a ambos casos puede ser usado en su contra.
You have a right to an attorney. If you cannot afford one, one will be appointed to represent you, and that would be Attorney J. Kim.
Tiene derecho a un abogado. Si no puede costear un abogado, se le puede designar uno de oficio, que sería la licenciada J. Ann Kim.
You have two new cases pending against you. The first one is 23 CR 7327G, in which you are charged with battery family violence from September 5th, 2021.
Hay dos casos formulados en su contra. El primero es el 23 CR 7327G, donde se le imputan los delitos de acometimiento, violencia familiar, con fecha de incidente 5 de septiembre de 2021.
Your second case is 23 CR 7328G.
El segundo caso es 23 CR 7328G.
You are charged with battery, family violence, and cruelty in the third degree.
Donde se le imputan los delitos de acometimiento, violencia en el hogar y maltrato de menores en el tercer grado.
And this is from a June 12th, 2022 incident.
Que proviene de un incidente de fecha 12 de junio 2022.
Mr. Howard, any priors on Mr. Ortiz?
Did you see
Señor
the booking
Howard,
sheet?
¿hay antecedentes penales en cuanto al señor Ortiz?
Judge, you see the booking sheet?
No, I have not.
Señora juez, ¿usted ve la hoja de información de su ingreso a la cárcel?
Give me a
No.
moment.
Permítame.
I
Alright,
do
but
know that he has another open case from 18 CR.
No, he got two different cases, 23 CP. He went to felony earlier, I'm assuming.
Okay, I'm sorry, I did not see that. I'm
They
Sí,
sorry.
got all the
viendo-
charges listed.
Ms. Toles, please proceed.
Sí, estoy viendo que tiene un caso abierto que comienza con 18 CR. No, él tiene uno en 23 CP, pero esta mañana fue a una audiencia por delitos graves.
And Ms. Kim, are you familiar with the matter that he's had with the initial appearance in felony court?
Yes, he did.
Señora Kim, ¿usted conoce el caso por el cual le hicieron la comparecencia inicial en la audiencia para los delitos mayores?
He went
Miss-
to felony court, Your Honor, and he got $30,000 good bond and no further contact. Stay away from incident occasion, Your Honor.
Sí, su señoría, él fue a la audiencia en el Tribunal de Delitos Graves, le pusieron una fianza de caución de $30,000, que no tenga más contacto con las presuntas víctimas y que no vaya más al lugar del incidente.
I don't know about that. I don't think the bond amounts have been updated on Odyssey.
No sé por qué en Odyssey no aparece la información sobre la fianza, la información actualizada sobre la cantidad de la fianza.
But these two cases are from 2021 and 2022 respectively.
Pero esos dos casos son del 2021 y el 2022 respectivamente.
So I will hear what the prosecutor has to say with regards to bond recommendations.
Entonces voy a ver lo que dice el fiscal con respecto a recomendaciones del fianza.
Ms. Kasudakis, I'll hear your Ms. Ekpo, I will hear your bond recommendations, but please keep in mind that we have to pause for the interpreter.
Thank you, Judge. I'm
Licenciada,
gonna,
Licenciada Ekpo, sí, voy a escuchar sus recomendaciones de fianza.
on the September 5th, 2021 case, officers came to 2917 Hemingway Lane.
En el caso de 5 de septiembre de 2021, los agentes llegaron a 2917 de la Hemingway Lane.
A caller called and advised that they saw a man hit a woman over the head with a bottle and she was bleeding.
Una persona llamó para informar que lo vio pegar a una señora sobre la cabeza con una botella y que ella estaba sangrando.
Officers made contact with the victim, Annabelle Hernandez.
Los oficiales tuvieron contacto con la víctima, Isabel Hernández.
She was in the apartment alone with her 3 children.
Ella estaba sola en el apartamento con sus 3 hijos.
She indicated the defendant was the father of her 3 kids.
Ella indicó que el acusado es el padre de sus 3 hijos.
She said Jose Nunez Ortiz took $800 from her.
Dijo que José Núñez Ortiz le quitó $800,
her passport,
su pasaporte
and her identification from the apartment.
y su carnet de identificación y lo sacaron del apartamento.
When she followed him in an attempt to retrieve her items,
cuando ella lo persiguió intentando de conseguir sus pertenencias,
he grabbed her around her throat and jaw and pushed her against the wall.
La agarró por la garganta y la mandíbula y la arrojó sobre la pared.
He then threw her to the ground and she landed on her right knee.
Luego la tumbó al suelo y ella quedó sobre la rodilla derecha.
The defendant fled the scene prior to police arriving.
El acusado se dio a la fuga antes de que llegara la policía.
The victim's right knee had a small abrasion to her patellar.
En la rodilla derecha de la víctima había una abrasión pequeña sobre la patela.
And she was unable to stand or walk on her own.
Sobre la rótula, perdón. Y ella no pudo pararse o caminar sola.
She was transported to North Fulton Hospital for evaluation and treatment.
La trasladaron al hospital North Fulton para ser evaluada y tratada.
The children did not hear the assault that occurred inside the apartment.
Los hijos no escucharon la agresión que tuvo lugar dentro del apartamento.
For the second incident that occurred on June 11th of 2022,
en cuanto al segundo incidente que ocurrió el 11 de junio de 2022,
the officers responded to the exact same location.
Los oficiales fueron al mismo dirección.
Again, in reference to a domestic violence incident.
Referente otra vez a un incidente de violencia en el hogar.
This time, the caller was the juvenile child of the victim and the defendant.
Esta fue la persona que llamó, fue el menor de edad, hijo o hija de la víctima y el presunto acusado.
The child told 911 that the father, the defendant, had returned home and was attacking his mother.
El hijo le dijo a los de 911 que el padre había vuelto a la casa y estaba atacando a su madre.
When police arrived on scene, they observed the victim, Annabelle Hernandez.
Cuando la policía llegó al lugar de los hechos, observaron a la víctima, Annabelle Hernández.
She was holding the right side of her face and was crying.
Estaba agarrando el lado derecho de la cara y lloraba.
Officers observed redness to her upper cheeks.
Los oficiales veía que tenía enrojecimiento en la parte superior de la mejilla.
The juvenile told police that his father had been drinking earlier in the afternoon and had left.
El menor de edad le explicó a la policía que su padre había tomado antes en la tarde y se había ido.
And when the father returned home, he began to attack his mother.
Y cuando el padre volvió a la casa, empezó a atacar a la madre.
When his father began to attack his mother, he ran into his room.
Cuando el padre empezó a atacar a su madre, él corrió a su cuarto,
shut his door, and went and hid under the bed.
cerró la puerta y se metió a esconder debajo de la cama.
He told police that he could hear his mother screaming from underneath the bed.
Él le dijo a la policía que escuchaba los gritos de su mamá desde abajo de la cama.
The victim told police that she was awakened from her sleep to
La
the
víctima,
defend. Sorry, go
oh,
ahead.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
La víctima le dijo a la policía que la despertaron, estaba dormida,
She was woken by the defendant grabbing her by her hair and pulling her off of the bed.
se despertó cuando el acusado la estaba jalando las greñas y la sacó de la cama.
Officers observed the victim removing clumps of her hair from her head while she's explaining what had happened.
Los oficiales vieron que ella se estaba sacando greñas de cabello de su cabeza mientras les explicaba lo que había sucedido.
The victim told police that the defendant only stopped
La víctima le explicó a la policía que el acusado solamente se detuvo
when she threatened to call the police.
cuando ella amenazó de llamar a la policía.
Officers observed red marks to the victim's body.
Los oficiales observaron marcas rojas en el cuerpo de la víctima.
The victim further stated this was not the first time this had happened.
La víctima dijo también que no fue la primera vez que esto había sucedido.
She refused to go to the hospital because she had infant children at the home.
Ella se negó a ir al hospital porque tenía niños, infantes en la casa.
State's bond recommendation, Judge,
La recomendación de la fianza del Estado, su señoría,
as to the first case,
en cuanto al primer caso,
$5,000 surety,
una fianza de $5,000, una fianza de caución,
$2,500 on each charge.
$2,500 para cada cargo.
No contact with Annabelle Hernandez,
Una prohibición de contacto con Anabel Hernández,
stay away from 2917 Hemingway Lane,
que no regrese más a 2917 de la Hemingway Lane,
FVIP course,
el curso para impedir la violencia doméstica,
no alcohol, drugs, or weapons while out on bond.
nada de consumo de alcohol y droga, ni tenencia de armas mientras está en libertad bajo fianza.
As to the second case,
En cuanto al segundo caso,
$5,000 surety bond,
una fianza de caución de $5,000,
$2,500 on each charge,
$2,500 para cada delito,
no contact with Annabelle Hernandez
prohibición de contacto con Anabel Hernández
or any minor children
y también con los hijos menores de edad,
with the initials CH,
con las iniciales CH,
JN,
JN
and VH.
y BH,
Stay away from 2917 Hemingway Lane,
que no regrese a 2917 de la Hemingway Lane,
and alcohol, drug, and evaluation and treatment
y análisis toxicológicos para detectar problemas de consumo de alcohol y droga y tratamientos si se los recomienda.
no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond.
Nada de drogas, alcohol o tenencia de armas mientras está en libertad bajo fianza.
Because of the age of the case, Judge, we did make an attempt
Por el tiempo que tiene este caso, su señoría, sí intentamos
to contact Miss Annabelle Hernandez Mata,
comunicarnos con la señora Anabel Hernández Mata,
but we were unable to do so, so we'd like to sound for her today.
pero no logramos hacerlo, así que nos gustaría ver si ella está conectada a la sesión. ¿No?
Thank you. Nothing further from the state.
Gracias. Nada más que agregar de parte del Estado.
If Miss Annabelle Hernandez Mata is on Zoom, please unmute and start your video.
Señora Anabel Hernández Mata, si está conectado a la sesión, por favor, prende su micrófono y prende su video.
All right, Miss Kim.
Yes, Your Honor, my client is 34 years old.
Sí, licenciada Kim, sí, mi cliente tiene 34 años de edad.
He has been here in Georgia for more than 19 years.
Lleva más de 19 años acá en el estado de Georgia.
Since he already has a $30,000 surety bond from the felony court,
Como él ya tiene una fianza de caución de $30,000 impuesta en el Tribunal de Delitos Graves,
with a bond condition not to contact his wife and his children, we have no objection to no further contact and stay away, Your Honor.
con la condición de no contactar a su esposa y sus hijos, no nos oponemos a la condición de ningún contacto.
Because of high amount of the bond that he already has to pay, we would like to request for signature on bond for this case.
Como él ya tiene una fianza alta que tiene que pagar por el otro caso, estamos pidiendo que le imponga una fianza bajo palabra en este caso.
His father is here in Georgia, so he's not a flight risk.
Su padre está aquí en el estado de Georgia, así que no representa un riesgo de fuga.
And Your Honor, he is gainfully employed at auto body shop as a paint preparer.
Él tiene un trabajo remunerado en una holastería como hace preparación para pintura.
He's been doing that for the last 13 years, and this is his permanent resident place. So we would like to request for signature on bond through jail or pretrial service, Your Honor.
Entonces, él tiene 13 años en ese trabajo de holastería. La casa es su residencia permanente, entonces estamos pidiendo una fianza bajo palabra a través de la cárcel o a través de los servicios previos al juicio.
And we would like to object to ADET since there is no evidence that he has any issues with alcohol or drug. Thanks.
Y nos oponemos a la imposición de la condición de las pruebas toxicológicas y tratamientos si se los recomiendan porque no ha salido ninguna prueba que indica que tiene problemas de alcoholismo o de drogodependencia.
All right, thank you.
Muy bien, gracias.
Mr. Nunez Ortiz has 3 open felony cases.
El señor Núñez Ortiz tiene 3 casos de delitos graves abiertos,
2 of which disturbingly involve the same victim, Annabelle Mata.
2 de los cuales implican a la misma víctima, Anabel Hernández Mata.
The 2 cases in front of me also involve the same victim.
Los 2 casos que tengo aquí delante también implican a la misma víctima.
Even though Mr. Nunez Ortiz is deemed innocent until the state proves the charges against him beyond a reasonable doubt.
Aunque el señor Núñez Ortiz se considera inocente hasta que el Estado haya probado los cargos más allá de una duda razonable.
The numerous charges have raised great concerns.
La cantidad de cargos me ha preocupado bastante.
On position number 9, the battery charge is $5,000 cash bond only.
En cuanto a caso en la posición número 9, el cargo de acometimiento, violencia en el hogar, sería una fianza de $5,000 que se paga solamente en efectivo.
The theft by taking is a $2,500 cash bond only.
El delito de hurto de bienes ajenos, una fianza de efectivo solamente de $2,500.
In the second case, the battery family violence is a $5,000 cash bond only.
En el segundo caso, acometimiento, violencia en el hogar, la fianza sería en efectivo solamente $5,000.
And count 2, cruelty to children in the 3rd degree, is a $2,500 cash bond only.
Y el segundo cargo de maltrato de menores en el 3er grado, una fianza en efectivo solamente de $2,500.
The total bond is $15,000 cash bond only for both cases.
La fianza total para ambos casos sería en efectivo solamente de $15,000.
And the conditions apply to both cases.
Y las condiciones corresponden en ambos casos.
No contact with Annabelle Hernandez Mata and to stay 200 yards away from her and her children.
Se le prohíbe contacto con Anabel Hernández Mata y que mantengan una distancia de 200 yardas entre ella y también los hijos.
Unless he is married to Miss Mata, he shall have no contact with her children.
A no ser que él está casado con la señora Mata, no tendrá ningún contacto con ella ni con sus hijos.
He is free to file a legitimation action in the Superior Court to obtain a court order to visit any children that he shares with Miss Mata.
Él está en libertad de obtener o solicitar el nombramiento de él como el padre legítimo de esos hijos que tiene en común con la señora Hernández Mata a través de la Sala Superior del Condado.
He is to stay away from the home at 2917 Hemingway Lane in Roswell, Georgia.
Que no se acerque más a la casa en el 2917 de la Hemingway Lane en Roswell, Georgia.
He is never to return to that entire apartment complex unless there is a court order allowing him to do so.
Él no se puede acercar a esos apartamentos en absoluto a no ser que consiga una orden judicial que le permita hacerlo.
He's not to consume any alcohol, no illegal drugs, and not possess any weapons or firearms.
Que no consuma nada de alcohol, drogas ilegales, ni tenencia de armas de fuego.
In the event that Mr. Nunes Ortiz does make bond,
en caso de poder salir bajo fianza,
he must be equipped with an ankle monitor.
Tendrá que usar un tobillera telemétrico.
His ankle monitoring fees must be paid by him per month.
Él mismo tendrá que pagar las tarifas mensuales del bracelete o tobillera telemétrica.
If he fails to make 3 payments,
si no hace 3 pagos,
his bond will be revoked.
Su fianza quedará revocada.
His next court date for both cases,
la próxima cita judicial para ambos casos,
December 7th at 9 a.m.
sería el 7 de diciembre a las 9 de la mañana.
In the event that he makes bond, he must make sure that we have his new mailing address at all times.
En caso de salir en libertad bajo fianza, tiene que asegurar que el tribunal tenga su domicilio actualizado en todo momento.
Thank you.
Gracias.
Your Honor, can you please have a one-time law enforcement officer escorted visit?
Denied. This man is allegedly a great danger to that family.
Su señoría, se le permite una visita a la casa una sola vez acompañado de un alguacil para recoger sus pertenencias. Niego la solicitud. Él presuntamente es una amenaza a la presunta víctima.
Thank you.
Gracias.
Courtroom 2, Ms. Tolles, I think that was the only case requiring an interpreter.
Thank you, Your Honor. May I be excused?
Yes, thank you. Have a good holiday weekend. Thank you.
Everyone enjoy the holiday. Thank you.
Thank you. Courtroom 2, who do we have, please?
Number 3.
Number 3, okay. This is State versus Clement Forts, case number 23CR7324E. Mr. Forts is accused of simple assault, family violence from a November 23rd, 2023 incident. Mr. Forts, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is going to be Miss Wills. Any priors, Mr. Howard?
20 total. Last arrest was in April. FTA out of Douglas County. Got a 2020 probation violation. 2019 battery DV, second subsequent conviction. Terrorist threats conviction. 2016 ag assault, first offender. 2015 battery DV, cruelty, and the third conviction. This was level 3.
So 2015 battery conviction and 2019 battery DV conviction. Is that correct?
Second subsequent, the 2019 was correct.
Understood. Okay, thank you. Ms. Kassidakis?
Yes, Your Honor. Law enforcement responded to 1175 Fair Street, Southwest Atlanta, Georgia, on a domestic disturbance. They spoke with the victim, Michelle Williams, the defendant's girlfriend, who stated she had just finished cooking Thanksgiving dinner and she fell asleep, and she woke up to the defendant beating on her, pulling her hair and punching her in the left eye, making a small mark on the left eye. The victim also had scratch marks behind her left ear and left bicep. The defendant and the victim were living together at the time of the incident. Your Honor, the defendant has a history, as you just heard, a violent criminal history The state's recommendation is a $3,000 surety. FVIP, no further contact with Michelle Williams. Stay away from 1175 Fair Street, Southwest Atlanta, Georgia. Drug and alcohol evaluation. No drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond. And whenever it's appropriate, Your Honor, we can sound for the victim, Michelle Williams.
Oh, okay, I see a Miss Michelle on the Zoom. If that is Michelle Williams, and if you want to address the court, you would need to unmute and start your video, please.
Yes, I'm Michelle Williams.
All right. May I place you under oath, please? Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
Yes.
All right. What would you like to tell us?
I would like to tell y'all, Tremaine is not a bad person at all. It's the drinking. So he can return back home. It can be a contact. It don't have to be a no contact order, but he definitely need to get help. Like I think he need like AA.
And if he doesn't?
And if he doesn't, I guarantee he will at this point.
Miss Williams, he's a grown man, just like you're a grown woman. I'm just asking you, if he doesn't?
Then I can't do it anymore.
So what about contact then, if he doesn't?
Then, I will be, asking you guys for more help. I think that
Miss Williams, answer the question. No, Miss Williams, I need an answer, straight answer from you. If he doesn't, as a grown man, voluntarily take help, what kind of contact would you like?
No contact.
Understood. Thank you very much.
No contact at all.
Understood. Thank you very much. You may mute your screen.
Thank
Ms.
you.
Wills?
Thank you. My client is 37 years old. He's a native of Georgia. He is currently employed by Staff Mart as a forklift operator. He's been employed there for the past 6 months. He does not qualify to be represented by the Public Defender's Office at this time. He does have a GED. He has one child that he does not share with Ms. Williams. My client does deny the allegations. And I would ask the court to just take that in consideration, that these are allegations despite his past history. My client did share with me that he does have a friend whose home he can go to in the event that he is not allowed contact with Ms. Williams. And he will need a one-time police escort if he is not able to return to the premises. I did have the opportunity to speak with Ms. Williams. She did share the same sentiments that she shared with the court, and that she would like to continue to have contact. And so I would that would be my argument for the court. I would ask for a signature bond, and if Your Honor is not so inclined, I would ask for the lowest bond that you would be willing to grant my client.
My concern is this is a third family violence problem that Mr. Forts is addressing since 2015, and then another one in 2019, and now in 2023, he finds himself in the same pickle. Bond is granted for $3,000 surety bond, no further contact with Michelle Williams, and to stay away from the 1175 Fair Street location. He's allowed to go to that location one time only with a police officer to retrieve his personal belongings. And then after that, he is not to return to that location at all until further order of the court. If he does make bond, he would need to attend and complete a domestic violence intervention program, which is a 24-week program. And this is nothing to do with conviction. This is a condition to his bond. And he will have to present his certificate of completion to the Solicitor General's office to indicate that he has completed the domestic violence program. He will be given 12 months from his release date to complete the domestic violence program. He is also to attend and complete an alcohol and drug evaluation with a healthcare provider, such as Grady Hospital or wherever he chooses to go. And if any treatment or counseling is required by the evaluator, he must submit himself to that treatment. The alcohol and drug evaluation and proof of such evaluation must be submitted to the Solicitor General's office within 12 months of his release on the $3,000 surety bond. His next court date is December 7th. No alcohol, no illegal drugs, and no weapons.
Position 4.
This is State versus Gregory Grant, charged with battery, family violence from August 20th, 2023. Mr. Grant, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is Ms. Wills. Any priors, Mr. Howard?
26 total. Last arrest was 2020. Sale of marijuana, suspended license. On probation for sale of marijuana and ID fraud. He got several FTAs in his history.
What was the latest?
2016.
Thank you.
It was a jail recommendation.
All right. Ms. Kassadakis?
Yes, Your Honor. Law enforcement responded to the incident location in reference to a domestic dispute. The officer spoke with the victim, Ashley Ben-Kosmi, who stated that she and the defendant, her live-in boyfriend, were fighting because she confronted him about cheating. He left the location, but then returned a little while later to get some clothes. She briefly opened the door to give the defendant the clothes, and he forced his way into the apartment and assaulted her by slapping her in the face and pushing her down. The defendant took some of the victim's belongings, so she sat in the defendant's passenger seat of his vehicle to prevent him from taking her belongings, and the defendant dragged her out of his vehicle. The victim's locks were changed for her safety, and when he was pulling her out of the vehicle, it was captured on video, Your Honor. The state's recommendation is a signature bond through pretrial services, FVIP, no further contact with Ashley BENCOSME. Stay away from the 3478 Lakeside Drive property. I'm sorry, and then no drugs, alcohol, or weapon while on bond. And whenever it's appropriate, Your Honor, we can sound for the victim, Ashley Ben-Kosme.
Benscombe? Is that the right name? Ashley Benscombe? I see an Ashley B on Zoom. If that's you, you may start your video and unmute if you want to address the court. All right, Ms. Wills, do you have a counter?
Yes, Your Honor, and I believe it's Miss
Hello.
Cosme.
Sorry. Yes, it's been Cosme. I'm trying to figure out how to turn my camera on.
Okay, until you turn your camera on, please remain silent. Okay, there she is. Ms. Wills, did you want to continue, or should I allow Ms. Benscombe to proceed first?
I would ask that Ms. Ben Cosme be allowed to speak first.
All right. Ms. Ashley Benscombe, is that your correct pronunciation?
Ben Cosme is fine.
Ben Cosby. Okay, that I would never have figured that one out. Okay. Ms. Ben Cosby, if you have something to add, may I place you under oath? The other right hand.
Oh.
Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So this incident occurred in August of 2023. Have you had counters with Mr. Grant since then?
As in another incident, no, but we have had communication.
Okay. And with regards to this charge, how do you feel about contact with him?
I feel okay with being in contact with him because we did kind of talk it out, and I feel like we did settle the issue. I don't believe that he will be violent towards me again. I don't want to pursue a relationship with him, but I do still want to remain in contact with him just out of the respect.
You want to keep in contact with him out of respect?
For his family more so, and for the things that he did do for me while we were in a relationship. But I don't want to continue to be in a relationship with him just because I don't think he is just mentally there or capable of being in a relationship.
I'm sorry, Your Honor. I believe we lost the jail.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say.
Okay, just hold, please.
We finished, Your Honor?
No, Deputy Milton, she sounded so happy on that note. Okay, no, unfortunately, we lost the jail, so we're waiting for them to join back.
Oh, wow. Okay, there they are.
Okay, thank you. All right, Ms. Benscombe, have you have anything else to add? No?
No, ma'am.
Thank you. Ms. Willis?
Thank you, Judge. My client is 33 years old. He is a native of Atlanta. He is currently unsure as to his employment status, but he was previously employed by Good Garments. He's been working there for quite some time. He does have a high school diploma, does have some college education, and has one child, a 3-year-old son. The alleged victim in this case is his former girlfriend. He does deny the allegations, but also reflects the same sentiments as Ms. Benscombe, as far as that they have maintained a mutually platonic and unremarkable relationship since this incident. My client, as it was stated by pretrial, I understand he does have prior failure to appears. However, his last, if I heard correctly, was 7 years ago. So I would ask the court to take that in consideration. My client no longer resides at the same incident location. And again, this incident did happen in August, and there have been no other incidents since then. I would request a signature bond for Mr. Grant.
All right, thank you. Bond is set at $5,000. It's a signature bond through pretrial services. He's to have no contact at all with Ashley Benscombe and to stay away from the 3475 Lakeside, what was that address? Lakeside Drive in Northeast Atlanta. No illegal drugs, no alcohol, no weapons. He will report to pretrial once a month. Within 30 days of being released on pretrial bond, he must update and confirm his mailing address with the court. He's to attend and complete the anger awareness program with pretrial services, and he's not to consume any alcohol, no illegal drugs, and not possess any weapons or any firearms. If down the road, if things get a little better with regards to this particular case, the court will consider amending it to a no further violent contact. But until that order is issued, Mr. Grant, you are under an obligation to stay 200 yards away from Ms. Benscombe, not to contact her in any way, form, or manner, or not even to respond to any contact that if she attempts to communicate with you, because the only person who will end up in jail under those circumstances will be you. Thank you.
And Your Honor, I do have an updated address for Mr. Grant. Can I place that in the chat for everyone, or?
No, not to everyone. You can place that to Mr. Howard with pretrial and to Ms. Casey Strong.
I will do that. Thank you.
Next case, please. Courtroom 2, if you could please unmute. Mr. Grant, if you have a right to remain silent, as your attorney will tell you. Did you have a question about your bond?
Yes, ma'am.
What's the question about your bond?
$5,000 signature bond. What does the amount of $5,000? Where does it come into play?
The $5,000 signature bond means that presently you don't have to pay on the $5,000, but you can sign up for your bond. But if you violate any of the conditions of your bond, your signature status will be revoked, and the next time you're in jail, you would have to pay $5,000 to get out.
I understand.
So that is the collateral to assure that you comply with the conditions of the bond, including no contact with the victim in this case.
I understand.
All right, good. Thank you. Next case, please.
Number 11.
State versus Gregory Lynn Payton, 23 CR 7321D, accused of simple battery domestic violence from April 5th, 2023. Mr. Payton, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is Ms. Kim. Any priors, Ms. Howard?
23 total, 2019 FTA, 07 battery, that was DWAP, 06 battery dismissed. It was level 3.
Okay. Ms. Acup?
Yes, Judge. Thank you, Judge. This incident occurred on April 5th of 2023. Officers responded to 1041 Garibaldi Street Southwest for a dispute. Investigators on the case spoke with Miss Tasha Birch, who indicated that her boyfriend, the accused, Mr. Gregory Payton, they were driving to the incident location, which is his aunt's house, and they were arguing about her storage unit keys. At some point, Miss Birch stated that when they arrived at the location, they were still arguing and the defendant exited the vehicle. Ms. Birch told officers that the defendant then walked to her side of the vehicle, opened the door, struck her in the neck with a closed fist. She told officers the defendant then grabbed her hair, tried to pull her out of the car. She told officers that she then tried to close the door. He then opened the door again. The accused then attempted to pull her out again, and she was able to close the door and he walked off. She told officers that they lived together. She positively identified the defendant from his Georgia's driver's license since he was not on scene when the officers arrived. We did make contact with Ms. Birch. I don't know if she is online now. She indicated that they lived together for 5 years. They have no children. They currently still reside together. She said they do not have a history of domestic violence. She's not afraid of the defendant. I would ask that there be a $2,500 SOR bond, FIP, to have no violent contact with Ms. Tasha Birch, and at this point to stay away from the incident location. She said that she does want contact, but she doesn't want the defendant to return to the residence. I do not believe that they're still in a relationship.
All right.
And the home address is 1464 River Rock Trail with a double R in the middle.
All right. And I see a young lady appearing on iPhone 5. Could you please unmute and identify yourself?
Hello, ma'am. I'm Tasha Birch.
And Ms. Birch, did you want to contribute to this hearing?
Yes. I wanted to say that.
Could you please raise your right hand? I'll need to place
okay.
on. Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
Yes.
Okay. And does Mr. Payton still live at the 1464 River, was it River Rock Trail?
We still stay together, but we are no longer at that location. We moved from that location.
All right. And you do not want to continue residing with him. Is that correct?
I do.
You do?
I do.
Okay. Anything else you'd like to tell us?
Yes, like that incident was our first ever incident where hands came into play, and he's not a good person. He's a good person, and anger just got in both of us that night, and that's how it happened. But we are still in a relationship and live together and do business together. So that's it.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Kim, unless you have any questions, I'm going to grant the 2,500 signature bond through pretrial services. No violent contact with Ms. Birch, no alcohol, no illegal drugs, and no weapons and no firearms. He can return to wherever he lives with Ms. Birch, but he'll need to update the court with his new mailing address so we can send him notice of when to show up to court. If he does not show up to court when summoned, or if he gets arrested again for anything else, the $2,500 signature bond will be revoked and converted to a cash bond or a surety bond. No violent contact with Ms. Birch, that means that cannot be any physical or verbal altercations that would involve law enforcement to be involved again. While he's out on bond, he will attend and complete 12 weeks of anger management classes, and he will begin those classes within 30 days of being released on the signature bond. He must show proof of enrollment in those classes to his pretrial officer. Thank you. Courtroom 2, who do we have next?
Number 12.
This is State versus Marcus Phillips, 23 CR 7322F, accused of simple assault family violence from November 24th, 2023. Mr. Phillips, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is Ms. Kim. Any priors, Ms. Howard?
24 total. 2014 simple battery DV. 2010 possession of controlled substance. Everything old. This is level 3.
Okay. Ms. Ekpo, any recommendation?
Yes, Judge. This incident occurred yesterday, November 24th of 2023. Officers responded to a domestic dispute at 2239 Cary Drive in Atlanta. Upon arrival, they spoke with the 911 caller, who identified herself as the victim, Annalise Livingston. That's ANNELISA. She informed the officers that she was involved in a verbal altercation with her husband, who is identified as this defendant, Mr. Marcus Phillips. She indicated to the officers that he wanted to engage in some type of sexual intercourse with her. She said that she wasn't interested. That moment, she declined. He then struck her with an open hand, and on the top of her head. She told him that she was going to call the police. When the officers arrived, they did not see any visible injuries to her head. When the officers also arrived, she told the police that one day prior that she had also called the police about her husband striking her as well. The defendant told the police and admitted to striking his wife yesterday, but he said on the 23rd he did not strike her. So he admitted to striking her on the 24th, but not on the 23rd when the officers had come on, which would have been the day before. At some point, we did make contact with her. I don't know if she's on Zoom. She indicated that she would be on Zoom. They have been married for 4 years. They have no children together. They do still live together. She told our office that they do not have a DV history. She told officers that they had been drinking, that the defendant did just slap her in the back of the head, and that it was blown out of proportion. We would be asking that there be an SOB signature bond through the jail, FIP course, alcohol, drug evaluation, treatment, to have no violent contact with her, and an anger awareness class as well.
All right. I have someone who's appeared on Zoom panel 1+ Nord N10. Could you please identify yourself?
I am Annalisa Livingston Phillips. I'm his wife.
And Mrs. Phillips, do you want to make a comment? I would have to place you under oath.
Yes, ma'am.
Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So how do you feel about him returning to the home?
Oh, I need him to come home. He is a wonderful husband. Unfortunately, during the Thanksgiving festivities, we drank. We don't usually drink like that. And we got escalated and everything was blown out of proportion. I'm a cancer patient. He takes care of me. I just had surgery 2 days ago. He brushes my hair. He lifts things for me. He reaches. I'm not allowed to lift or reach. He's a gentle husband. He's a loving husband. And I feel so bad that this got so crazy. I should have never called. It was just a tap on the head.
Just a tap on the head. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you. Ms. Phillips, you can mute your screen. Ms. Kim?
Okay.
Runner, my client is 54 years old, and he is actually running a small lawn care business, Your Honor. However, because he is working as a full-time caregiver for his wife, he's not working a lot. And Your Honor, however, they are not going to be qualified for public defender services since as a couple, they do make enough income, Your Honor. He graduated from high school. He does have 2 years of college education. We have no objection to SOB jail and no further violent contact. Thanks, Your Honor.
Bond is set at $2,500. It is a signature bond through pretrial services. He'll have to report to pretrial once a month. He will also need to attend and complete an alcohol and drug evaluation within 30 days of being released from the Fulton County Jail, and must show proof to the pretrial officer that he's submitted to an evaluation and that he will continue receiving treatment if the evaluator recommends it. He will also complete 12 anger management classes, which must begin within 60 days of being released from the jail, and show proof of attending those classes to his pretrial officer. No further violent contact with Miss Livingston Phillips. He may return to the 2239 Corey Drive location, but please keep in mind that if you violate any of the conditions of your bond, it will be revoked and you will be back in jail, where your bond will be then a surety bond or a cash bond only. Thank you.
Thank you.
Number 6.
Let's see. Kitcheninui? Is that
Kitchenawi.
Kitchenaway?
Yes, Your Honor.
Well, Mr. Maximilian, tell me, how do you pronounce it?
Kitchenawi.
Okay, Mr. Kitchenawi, that's what I'm going to go with. 23 CR 7325B, State versus Maximilian Kitchenawi, accused of battery, family violence from a November 24th, 2023 incident. Mr. Kitchenawi, you have been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is Ms. Wills. Any priors, Mr. Howard?
No, jail was a recommendation.
All right. Ms. Kassidakis, any recommendation for bond?
Yes, Your Honor. Law enforcement responded to the incident location at 811 Argonne Avenue Northeast, where they spoke with the victim, Zane White, who stated that her live-in ex-boyfriend had been physical with her when she rejected his sexual proposition. He pulled her off the couch by her legs, causing 2 small bruises on her arm. Victim also stated this was not the first time the defendant had gotten physical with her. There's a video of the defendant doing this. The state's recommendation, Your Honor, is a signature bond through pretrial services, FVIP, no further contact with ZHANE White, stay away from 811 ARGONNE Avenue Northeast, no drugs, alcohol, or weapon while out on bond, and whenever it's appropriate, Your Honor, may we sound for the victim, Zane White.
All right. Zane White. No? Okay. Ms. Wills?
Your Honor, we have no objection to a signature bond, but I would like to say my client is 35 years old. He's resided in the state of Georgia for the past 5 or 6 years. He's the CEO at GATCLP, where he's been employed there for the past 10 years. Where he currently resides is actually a property that is owned by his father. My understanding is that several units within this premises. He is the tenant of that premises. He allowed Ms. White to remain there after their breakup, due to her having a child and suffering from some mental health issues. But since this incident has occurred, obviously they do not remain in a relationship. He denies the allegations. I have not had the opportunity to review whatever video evidence that the state allegedly has. However, he has the means and is able to go to another unit within the premises. However, the alleged victim, Ms. White, also has family members within the area where she can go and reside as well.
Okay.
But again, we're in agreement with the signature bond.
Right.
Mr. Kitchener, I'm sorry.
Kitchenerway,
yeah.
Yeah. Courtroom 2, please unmute. Mr. Kitchenerway, you have a right to remain silent unless you have a specific question for your bond, which I've not ordered yet. I think your attorney would recommend that you remain silent in order to avoid incriminating yourself. Okay. On the bond, on the battery family violence, it's going to be a 3,500 signature bond through pretrial services. no further contact with Ms. Zane White, to stay away from the entire complex at 811 Argonne Avenue in Northeast Atlanta, including apartment 3. He may return to the apartment 3 location one time only with a police officer, and he may use it for a dual purpose. The first purpose is either to verify that Ms. White has vacated the premises, and if the officer is satisfied that the place has been vacated, then he may return to the location. However, if the premises are still being occupied by Ms. White, then he cannot return to those premises. He cannot return to any neighboring units in that location because he has to stay at least 200 yards away from her. He may, of course, file a civil dispossessory action if he believes that she's living there, beyond any permission, but he cannot evict her without a court order. No illegal drugs, no alcohol, no weapons, and no firearms. And he would need to provide us with his new mailing address within 30 days of being released. While he's on a pretrial bond, he will attend and complete the one-day anger awareness program with pretrial. Courtroom 2, please unmute. Yes, sir.
Your Honor, could you please consider a non-violent, non-contact? We broke up 3 months ago. I'm from Germany. She has family over here. We've been together 6 years. She has a 8-year-old autistic son who I helped raise. It's already difficult enough for him. Nothing ever happened. I don't know why she should stay there, why she said something like that. We've been together 6 years, and if a non-violent non-contact would be possible, I would highly appreciate that.
Denied. Thank you. Anything else, Ms. Wills?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. Next case, please.
Number 14, Shannon.
Ms. Kim will do your case towards the end, since it's you waived this appearance, or was this just a breakout?
You mean the Shannon is not a breakout, Your Honor? Sanders is a breakout.
Yeah, on Sanders.
Yes.
Oh, thank you. This is position number 14, and that is this is Danisha Sanders. Would that be correct? Are you Danisha Sanders?
Actually, Your Honor, I thought this was Sean Shannon.
Sorry. Are you Sean Shannon?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, sorry, I read off the wrong chart. Okay. This is case 23 CR 7323E. Mr. Shannon is accused of theft by receiving stolen property from October 21st, 2023. And
he got 12 total.
Okay.
Felony obstruction from this year, reckless conduct. This year he got a shoplifting, theft by receiving, possession of cocaine, couple of FTAs from 2019. Had a 2016 armed robbery dismissed, 2014, same thing. This was level 2. He went to felony earlier, and I think he got a $2,000 good bond.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Ekpo?
Thank you, Judge. This incident occurred on October 21st of 2023. The victim, Keon Edwards, was riding with some friends when he came to visit for the weekend. His vehicle was parked at 899 Martin Luther King Jr. Drive. His vehicle was a GMC Yukon with South Carolina tags. They returned and found the front passenger window broken along with their bags missing from the back seat. Mr. Edwards stated that his iPad mini and a black Glock 9mm was stolen from the back seat in the bag. The gun was never located. The next day, the defendant was captured from the Eco ATM machine, turning in an iPad mini that had been reported stolen from the victim. His driver's license, along with his image, was taken from the machine. The victim, Mr. Shannon, received about $28 for the iPad. The defendant received about $28 for the iPad. We did attempt to make contact with the victim. We have not been able to do so. So I want to sound for Mr. Keon Edwards now.
Keon Edwards, if you are present.
He's got a serious history, Judge. I know, like you heard from pretrial series, pretrial services, but it's all thefts, theft by shoplifting, armed robberies, armed robberies, armed robberies. And so we would be asking for a $2,500 surety bond in this instance to stay away from 899 Martin Luther King Jr. Drive and to have no contact with Keon Edwards, and an anti-theft class, no alcohol, drugs, or weapons while out on bond.
So the only link that you have right now is the iPad or the.
That he turned it in and got money. Yes, Judge.
Okay, so no fine on the missing firearm.
No, nothing.
All right, Ms. Kim.
Yes, Your Honor. My client is 26 years old. He was born and raised here in Georgia. He does have a strong ties to the community here. His family is here, Your Honor. He's not going to be running away. He is gainfully employed. He's actually looking for a job, and he has an interview this coming Monday at Marta to do the sanitation, Your Honor, and he really wants to keep his job, get the job, actually. So we would like to ask for a signature on bond. Even for a pretrial service will be great. He is also looking for help with other programs or something to help him out. However, at this point, I think a signature on bond will be good enough, Your Honor. He does not have a job yet, so he does not have, his indigency is a concern as now. Thank you.
Bond is going to be set at 2,500. It's a surety bond. No contact with Keon Edwards, and to stay away from the incident location. His next court date is going to be December 7th, and we are going to place both his cases on the December 7th calendar, which is this new one, as well as 23 CR 005971E. Ms. Strong, do you have that case?
One more time with the case number.
23 CR 005971E.
005971E. Okay.
5971E, yes.
Thank you.
All right, both cases will be placed on the December 7th SAP calendar. Courtroom 2, please unmute. Mr. Shannon, you've been advised of your right to remain silent. Anything you choose to say can and will be used against you.
Yes. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, we've already advised you of your right to remain silent and to avoid the risk of incriminating yourself. So
I'll be happy to call you, or you can call me.
I'll ask you, could you call my sister?
Sure, I'll do that for you. No problem.
All right.
all right, thank you. All right, next case, please.
That will conclude courtroom number 2.
All right. Courtroom number 2, before we get to Mr. Sanders' case, Ms. Kim, are you waiving his appearance as well?
No, actually, we cannot even waive her appearance because this is a serious MH issue, Your Honor.
Okay.
So,
and I don't have Sanders in courtroom 2, nor in any other location.
Another medical reset, Your Honor.
Yeah, we can do a medical reset. Let me see.
It was a medical reset from yesterday as well.
Okay, well, it's going to keep being reset, and this one won't be addressed till Monday. This is criminal trespass. How many priors on position number 13, Mr.
I got second arrest. They put her GCIC with somebody else, but it should be her second arrest. A PI charge from sometime this year.
All right. And who's the prosecutor in this matter? All right, Ms. Ekpo, what was the state's recommendation?
It was going to be an SOR, Judge. Hold on.
Well, Ms. Kim, if you'd like to waive the appearance, it's going to be a signature bond.
Yeah, it's going to be a signature bond.
However,
$1,500 signature bond.
But when I tried to have an interview, we had a Zoom hearing. The officer actually took the iPhone to her screen, her cell. We tried to contact her, Your Honor. I couldn't get the waiver of appearance.
Okay. Let me see what is on Sanders.
I think she was reset Wednesday too.
It was yesterday.
Yesterday.
Especially.
Yeah, we had.
Oh yeah, yeah, and Wednesday. You're right, because it happened on the 22nd.
Yeah.
All right, currently she has no bond. Ms. Strong, we will do a bond order for $1,000 signature bond through the jail and to stay away from
Margaritaville.
Oh, the restaurant across
Yes.
from Centennial Park? I don't know
Yes.
the address. So
155 Centennial Olympic Park Drive Northwest.
okay. I only know it because I drive by it. That's
Uh-huh.
right. Okay. And Miss Kim, I will reset this case to Monday.
Sure.
What's the date on Monday? 27. All right. And if she makes bond, then the case will be further notice for clean arraignment in the future.
Thank you.
All right. So let me just go down the calendar in case our officer is waiting there. Position number 1 on Diallo is a 2,500 split bond, reset December 7th. Position number 2, Donaldson's a 2,500 signature bond to pretrial for the notice. 3/4 is a 3,000 surety bond, reset December 7th. Position 4, Grant is a $5,000 signature bond for pretrial for the notice. 5, Howell is a 5,000 signature bond for pretrial for the notice. 6, Maximilian is I think was a $5,000 signature bond. I didn't write it down.
I got 35.
3,500 signature bond through.
Everybody else got that?
Yes, I have 3,500 through signature bond through pretrial.
I swear to God, my 3 and my 5 look the same, so I wasn't sure. So, okay, thank you for correcting me. So, it's a 3,500 signature bond. Position 7, Lewis, is a was going to be a signature bond, and I didn't write it down. I think it's 2,500. Okay, yeah, 2,500 signature bond through pretrial for the notice, and that's with a cosigner. And position 8 is a 2,500 signature bond through pretrial for the notice. 9 and 10 were cash bonds only, 7,500 each. Reset date is December 7th, ankle monitor imposed. Position 11 is a 2,500 signature bond through pretrial for the notice. 12 is a 2,500 signature bond through pretrial for the notice. 13, Sanders is a $1,000 signature bond through the jail, reset for initial appearance on November 27th, pending release. And position 14 is a 2,500 surety bond, reset date December 7th. And I think that concludes the calendar.
I just want to confirm that all of these are level 1, correct?
All level 1, yes. Oh, the ones through pretrial, yes.
Yes, that's what I'm, yes.
Okay. All right. If there are no further questions, I wish everyone a continuation of your holiday weekend. I'm sorry you all had to break it to do this, but we appreciate your service. Thank you.
Thank you, Honor.
Thank you, everyone. Enjoy it. Take care. Bye-bye. Ms. Strong, I'll just wait for your email, okay? Thank you.